Nick!
We're live again, Billy Boy.
We're doing a little video. There is no episode this week because, as per our Instagram page, Schwab_podcast, we have updated so that we can give you guys better content. Now, for almost 4 years, the Say What Again Billy podcast has been on all podcast platforms. However, now we are going to have a video podcast almost weekly.
That's right. Not only the dulcet sound of our voices, you get to see our faces.
Now, we have invested in better mics so that we can provide better audio quality on both the video and on the podcast side. Now, last week we did an experiment and we know the audio didn't come that great on the podcast outlets, so that's why we just pulled the trigger and we got better mics, and this week we'll be receiving the mics, playing around with them, and then Monday next week there should be a video and audio podcast out wherever you get your podcast from, and then on YouTube you can watch the Swab Crew on the YouTube page on the Say What Again Billy podcast YouTube outlet.
And here's a hint. I did not know this myself until I was doing it. If you download the YouTube app, it will actually continue, like the website, if you do it, it won't play in the background. But if you get the app, it will play in the background. So some people will still treat it like a podcast, like maybe they're getting in and out of a car, but they're watching it while they're not driving. Don't watch while you're driving. If you run it from the YouTube app, you can actually hear it as like a podcast. It's almost like a podcast in general, but you still get the video playing too.
Right. So we're doing our videos on YouTube currently. And you could still hear us on wherever you have been listening to the Swap podcast, whatever podcast outlet you guys have been listening, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Google, Breaker, or whatever other podcast, you can still listen to us, but now we're giving you guys the ability to finally see us. And not only that, there's a reason we're doing a video that will appear on YouTube and on Instagram, because it's going to be a short video. Nick and I are going on an adventure tomorrow as promised for about 2-3 months.
We're going on an adventure.
We are going to Letchworth Village tomorrow to shoot a video of one of the most historical and haunted places in New York State. And this has appeared on a famous show for all paranormal enthusiasts, and that is Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans. So, this place has a very, very big history, and when we get there tomorrow, we're going to have a on-video Nick's Notes.
Yes, it's going to be Nick's Notes. And unfortunately for me and my brain that seems to be in diminished capacity in my older age, I am going to not have the sheets with me. So I will have my general notes. It may not be as clutch as it usually is, but it will definitely have... It'll all be up here. I don't take mushrooms, though, so...
Well, we might have to load up on mushrooms. So, for those who don't know about Letchworth Village...
Or mushrooms.
Nick is going to give you guys a little 411 on where we'll be adventuring tomorrow. Now, just to break the ice, we are not going at nighttime. There are some stipulations, and I'm posting it here. Letchworth Village is free to roam. It is, 2,000 acres?
2,000 acres.
It is 2,000 acres of abandoned asylum that closed down in 1996. And Nick's going to give you the exact opening, because I think it was,
1890... Oh, hold on. Because he died. The man who founded it died right before. So I apologize.
It was in the late 1800s, or late 1900s, I believe. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
1800s.
Let's see. I'll tell you right now. I had it open, and this is where I'm not memorized. So tomorrow I'll be much better. 1873, he retired, Letchworth, devoted his life to his Quaker ideals, got it approved. He was appointed to the State Board of New York in 1878, got his plan approved in 1907, secured the property in Thiels, New York in 1909, died before it was completed, and opened on July 10th, 1911.
Well, eventually, in 1996, things did take part in Letchworth Village. In 96, which is fairly recently, Letchworth Village closed down completely.
Right, less than 30 years ago.
Leaving a complex of buildings. Now, we do not know anything about the grounds there. When we go there tomorrow, we are literally winging it. We're parking the car and walking around, and we're going to give you guys as much video content as we possibly can from, obviously, the grounds. Now, as per Reddit and YouTube, the platform that we are on, I have seen many videos of Letchworth Village. And almost 9 out of the 10 videos that I came across on YouTube people went inside the buildings. Now, on the internet, there are a couple of signs, even that was included on the Ghost Adventure show with Zach Bagans. Zach Bagans was interviewing a person that was going in there and doing amateur ghost hunting. And he was telling the experience to Zach Bagan. And he was like, oh, so you went in there and you ignored the sign that was behind you. Conveniently, they shot the scene where the person was talking to Zach Bagan, and there's a sign that says, do not trespass. Now, how can I word this properly? We're not trying to trespass. We have reached out to officials in the area so that we can actually have someone that has a better knowledge to the place meet us there and give us an interview and allow us full-fledged permission to go to Letchworth Village and go into the safer buildings that are open. Now, according to people that have been there, and I actually have a coworker that used to go there all the time at night, the property, some of the buildings are open where you can mosey on into the building and make your way out. We do not plan on obviously doing any type of vandalism, so that's out of the question. If you guys know us by now, we're not trying to do that. We're trying to get video footage of the grounds and some of the buildings that were open and are part of the very morbid history of Letchworth Village, which included taking care of insane people, cripples, and other mentally ill patients that were in the confines of this 2,000-acre asylum. Correct. Now, we can go to, you have a...
I have some, like...
A pre-Nix note?
Pre-Nix notes up here that I gathered some information.
You want to grab the paper?
Nope.
No, we're gonna
I'm trying to do this offhand. So first off, I'll throw this
Nix
out
notes.
there. It was made for a facility. This facility was maxed out at 3,000 people. That's what its maximum capacity was supposed to be. After getting people from Bellevue and other places in New York, because it became this hub. It was different than all these other institutions and asylums at the time, which were just these giant buildings. He made it a village. Now, at the time, the mental terms, which will make you cringe now, folks, imbecile, idiot, and moron were the three levels of intelligence that they were talking about.
I am highly offended.
Okay. Just because they all describe you does not mean you should be offended.
Yes.
All right. Anyways, but in all seriousness, those were the three terms that they used. It was meant for 3,000 people, but because it became such a hub, because it was known to be so good at what it was, because they farmed, they did farm work, they tilled the land, they actually sold stuff from that area to make profit.
So you're saying we're going to do a lot of walking tomorrow?
There's definitely walking. 2,000 acres is a lot of space.
Yeah.
And but here's the thing. 3,000 is a maximum capacity. They closed down with 5,000 patients.
And 600 deaths.
Go ahead and tell me why you think they were condemned and closed down. There's two reasons.
Well, I do know a story that was featured on Ghost Adventures. Well, Zach was interviewing someone that used to work there. Mm-hmm. And she said at one point it got so crowded and the nursing staff was so few and far between that they lined up literally 50 to 60 patients in a line for lunchtime and took one spoon. The nurse had one spoon and would shovel the food into each of the patients' mouths and go down the line trying to feed all of them with a single spoon because they were there and they were doing all these things given their mental state and their mental illness with one spoon down a line, which is disgusting.
So that leads into one reason. Everyone that works there or has worked there that was interviewed always has good things to say. Always is like, this was a great place. As far as the staff is concerned, we really cared about the people. We didn't see any abuse or anything like that. You're telling a story about one spoon. They blamed the government for not giving them additional funding for all these excess patients they were sending them. They had room. 2,000 acres is a lot of space, but they didn't have the capacity because they didn't have the staff. They didn't have the building space or room. They didn't have the physical rooms to house all these people because they were made for 3,000, which reached capacity, I believe, in 1935, if memory serves. I'm not going to look at the phone. I'll look later. Actually, I will check. But I believe it's 1935.
If it was in 1935 and it finally closed down in 1996, that's what, 60 years?
Yep.
Of
It reached its capacity in 1935.
Right, so 1935. So 1935 to 1996 is what? The math?
61 years.
61 years? Damn, I was close.
61 years. That was pretty good. Mushrooms.
It was so close. By math. But what I was saying is 61 years
at capacity or more.
With people still going there.
Right.
And they actually tested the first polio.
I was going to bring that up. That's part of the reason why they sent more people, because
the first polio vaccine was tested on individuals in Letchworth Village asylum.
So let me make a side note to that. The guy who invented that vaccine tested it on himself first. Okay? Human testing obviously has gotten to a point where it's much more regulated now than it was back then. But he tested it on himself. When he proved it worked on him, he was able to administer it to 20 children. That's who it was administered to, I believe in 1948. 20 kids. 17 were cured, but there were no ill effects on any of the 20. So they considered this a huge, when you talk about 85%, that's what 85% is. By 17 out of 20 is 85%. Success rate and no detrimental factors, that's a win. That's a win. And again, he tested it on himself first, so it's not like anything else that we may or may not want to compare that to.
Not on YouTube.
Okay. But he tested it on himself first. And as a matter of fact, one of our senators that's a long-standing senator has survived because of that vaccine. Mitch McConnell. He received the polio vaccine when he was a youth. So, but in 1948, this is when all this thing is going on. So obviously you're getting all this attention because you're making all these good things happen. So
why did I hear negative stories about that, though? Unless the page or video I watched wanted to make it seem negative.
Because you're testing it without regulation. You're giving it to kids, maybe without permission, because these are just patients that are there. They're going to try and compare it to Tuskegee, which was a medical travesty. They were not telling these people what they were getting. They probably didn't tell the kids either.
No, well, the kids really couldn't talk. A lot of the people there could not feed themselves, could not talk, could not physically tell the staff there what was wrong, whether they were in pain.
So
they
can't
hungry.
advocate for themselves. So that's where it's negative, right? Like you're just giving something to somebody who can't say no.
Right. Now, also on top of this, there is, and I actually discovered this from Julie, Sleepy Hollow Country, great page, especially with spooky season coming.
Can't wait for that.
It is going to be, and we're going there in October on Columbus Day, Indigenous Day. If you want to be, PC about
Italian American Heritage Day.
Yes, Italian American Heritage Day, Indigenous Day, Columbus Day, whatever you want to call it. On that day, we are heading to Sleepy Hollow to finally try to find the Bronze Lady statue with the map. And we also know we have the ability to drive through the cemetery. The only bad thing, and I hope this doesn't happen, is if we go there and the cemetery is for some reason closed that day. I highly doubt that. But we are going to Sleepy Hollow regardless on that Monday to find the Bronze Lady statue and give you guys some really good video come October for spooky season, which is what we did last year, but we aired it a couple of weeks early.
And if you paid attention to the little reel that was put out, one of us is going to try and sit on the bronze. So I think right now while we're filming, we should do a not it to see who's going to do it. Ready?
Not it.
Not it. Oh,
Joey.
I guess it's got to be Joey.
Oh, man. You know what? It's fine because you might need to take a break with your ankle situation. I'm just saying. But I think you'll be good by then. I got $50 that Joey bails out on this trip.
I definitely, I don't know about bailing out, but I will see that 50 that he will not sit on the Bronze Lady.
Well, okay.
All right. Now, the second reason, I want to take us back real quick. The second reason that Letchworth is so famous, there's a man who made his career off of it, his report on it. You know who he is? Geraldo Rivera.
The talk show closed?
He was, a news reporter, Geraldo Rivera. Maybe not Geraldo Rivera. What's the other Rivera? The news. Am I saying this is the wrong Rivera?
I thought Geraldo Rivera was isn't he like a talk show host? I remember watching him, not beard, mustache, glasses, kind of hair parted to the side type thing.
Did I get the wrong Rivera? Maybe I did. No, Geraldo Rivera. In 1972, he was a local newsman who reported on Willowbrook, which was the same kind of a situation, but in Staten Island.
Put his picture up. I want to see what he looks like.
Okay, hold on. Let's see if it comes up with this.
Geraldo Rivera.
Geraldo Rivera. Look at that. That's his website.
Isn't that wasn't he a talk show?
He might have been. Let's.
I remember watching it. Like, that was one of the shows. Where you had Ricky
Video
Lake.
archive. Let's see if I can get it.
Ricky,
Yeah. That Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Ricky Lake, Geraldo Rivera.
Okay. 1972, he was a local reporter.
Sally Jesse Raphael, if you really want to see how old we are.
Gosh. Who broke the story in 1972 about Willowbrook, which is a state school in Staten Island, very similar to this village. And then, obviously, attention was turned to this village, and then by 1996, the government had completely moved all the patients off the grounds.
Wow.
4 of the buildings, from what I could tell, have been converted to schools. So those are obviously not ones we can go into.
Obviously.
But when you're still talking about 2,000 acres, so there's definitely a lot of space.
Well, according to people that have been there, I've spoke to a coworker, and she actually said that she used to go there at night. There's underground tunnels, which that is on my no-fly zone. I don't like planes, and I don't like anything underground, so you best believe if we do venture into a building, I will not be going through underground tunnels there. Number 2, again, we're not trying to break laws or anything like that. That's why we're doing this video, so we can make it very known. We just want to get video footage for mostly historical purposes. Now, we are a paranormal podcast, but when we went to Sleepy Hollow, the paranormal podcast turned into literally an historical documentary video about General Andre, about the reason why we are not under the British regime. It turned very historical. So even though we would like to see some paranormal stuff happen, it is mainly historical. And there's a gravesite there that, according to my research, in the last few years just got names and possible identities. Although Julie mentioned, that's why I was bringing her up before, she took video and photo of the cemetery. She also had a clip of being inside, which that's why I asked her. I was like, you can go in there? And she was like, yeah.
Are we talking about the Leatherman's grave?
No, there is a gravesite there that were unmarked. They didn't know who was buried there, people that died. So at some point in our ventures there, maybe at some point tonight, while I'm painstakingly editing this video, that's hopefully not going to be over 40 minutes, you can get a map of this place where we can actually find the cemetery and find one of the buildings. Now, I know
You're talking about the village or you're talking about Sleepy Hollow?
Letchworth.
Oh, okay.
Yes, there's a cemetery there on Mark Graves. And
Julie
went there. But she posted this because she travels all of Westchester now posting historical stuff. But there's a grave there that had unmarked graves. According to the last couple of years, they actually found names for these people that were buried there. But if you can get a map of this place, then we know where we're going. The morgue is still there. It's very vandalized now, but that's where a lot of stuff obviously happened. And we are bringing minimal equipment, as it's just me and Nick going there tomorrow. Going to bring my SLS camera, is going to be going, spirit box, EMF meters, and I'm going to bring a thermometer. Going to have the book bag on. We're going to try to grab one more person to come with us tomorrow. But as far as now, it's going to be Nick and I going there. And it's basically a little preview to spooky season. And a lot of people are calling August now Augtober. So I guess you could say this will be a pre-treat to the spooky season, as we had promised this. And when we go tomorrow, not only will there be a video of our adventure tomorrow, there will be a podcast episode in detail about Letchworth Village and all the spooky happenings there. And I might even have someone come on the podcast who went there and experienced certain stuff. And that is going to be part of a fun-filled September and October. And officially, when did I say? September 29th or September 30th?
Yeah,
starts,
I think September 30th.
Spooky season. That's when we're going to start our content. Where in the coming week or so, you could check the swappodcast.com website to see what exactly we have planned for spooky season this year. Of course, our return visit to Sleepy Hollow will be a podcast episode, video episode, because now you can watch us starting next week. We got these brand new mics, and I will say a pre-thank you to Autigo. If you don't, I'm not sponsored by Autigo, but I'm going to say this. Autigo is the mics that we went to. I don't like to hear from people saying that we should buy a mixer board or this, use laptops, use that. I'm very stubborn, and the way things have been working, don't fix what's not broken. So I do everything with iOS, and believe it or not, a lot of the stuff that I do is from my phone. So Autigo mics are a microphone that's specifically designed for iOS, for your iPhone, for musicians mainly, where you can actually play music record and have everything on an app where you could edit volume, mix in things, add different tracks, and even record video. So I pulled the plug and I went and got Augtober mics, which we'll be using going forward. And I cannot wait to receive them this week and start recording content with Augtober mics for the podcast and for the video podcast. So that I'm looking forward to this week. And Nick, tomorrow, you got the map pulled up?
Hopefully that's will work. I'll go to town and see if I can get a better version of that.
We want
a directory.
We're going to have quite the day ahead of us tomorrow. We don't know I've never been there. I don't know what to expect, where to park, where to walk. So tomorrow's going to be fun. And we're all going to have the video for you guys. And you'll have something to watch this week of us in Letchworth Village once I air it. So it's going to be an adventure. It's something for Augtober.
That's right, Augtober. Now
Augtober.
Look, there's two cool aspects, right, where we're in this video world now, right? And it'll be fun to watch the commentary that comes through because it's a little easier, I think, to see comments on YouTube than it is on any of the musical channels for podcasts in general. I mean, the Spotify ones are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's very easy for us to see those questions and answers. But the other cool thing with the YouTube is if it is, if you watch the Sleepy Hollow, it's not, you don't see anything really paranormal. We are not summoning, we are not seancing anything. So if it happens, it happens.
Right.
And if we catch it, it's fantastic. Now, if we don't understand, there'll still be the history of it, and the paranormal history will be there. But that doesn't mean we're always going to catch it. We can't command them to work when they want to work. If they show up, they do. Fantastic. And then you'll get to see it.
You know what's crazy? In here somewhere, Revolutionary War, Ghosts of the Revolutionary War. Sleepy Hollow's in here. I looked through it. A book that Joey... with the pyramids. Yeah. Anyways, I was looking for an encyclopedia of the paranormal right here. I wanted to see if Letchworth Village was in here. I don't know if there's a table of contents.
I think if you go to the index, it'd probably be easier if you go to the back of the book.
This book, I don't think not so much. But anyways, everybody, we wanted to give you... We said no podcast episode, but we're shooting a video to show you guys what you are in store for and what we're going to be experiencing tomorrow. And I will put the release date of the video on the swab_podcast Instagram page so you guys know when to go and watch that. As we will be recording tomorrow, the video will probably come out either at some point Wednesday or Thursday. So stay tuned for that. So wish us luck. We're going to give you some more content. You guys want video podcasts? We're giving it to you. You guys want more of us going to haunted locations, and that's what we're doing. So wish us luck, and tomorrow we'll be in Letchworth Village shooting some spooky and historical video.
Can't wait.
It's going to be fun.
Can't wait.
See you guys tomorrow.
See ya.